Sit with me. I saved you a spot in the universe, where the breeze is longing to love you, where the stars are ready to shine for you, where the rain wants to sing for you and the thunderstorm is ready to play with you. Hold my hand and watch them all fall in love with you. Sit with me. I saved you a spot in the infinite universe. I wrote this a few days ago, and it reminded me how much I have evolved in my expression, because there was a time I would not express myself in this way. And that was quite an interesting time. I remember, in spite of meditating all night for days, for hours, for constantly being hungry for that divinity, and still nothing was happening. Meditation was not leading me anywhere, and I finally spoke to my guru, and I told him, I'm sitting for hours, I'm waking up all night, I'm getting hungry, frustrated. I need to know what's out there. I need to know why am I here. And he looked at me and he said something very simple, that until you honor and embrace the feminine within you, you are not going to know your truth. And that day was the game changer. That was the first day I felt embarrassed that I never ever acknowledged the feminine within me. And my view of feminine was so limited by the Bollywood and the Hollywood stories around me. And today I want to share with you, what does it mean to balance the divine feminine and masculine within? And how can you truly experience and enhance the qualities of feminine and masculine within? May this conversation invokes and ignite your highest expression of feminine, and may it brings out the most sacred masculine within you. I am Chandresh Bhardwaj, and this is Break the Norms. So a lot of you know that I lead retreats. They have been one of the most profound experiences in my teaching, in my sharing. And when the opportunity showed up to teach retreats in my homeland, in my land of spirituality, divinity, my motherland, Himalayas, I asked myself, what should I teach there? And the answer came healing. But then healing had countless other outlets. And I asked myself, what kind of healing? What exactly I want to do in Himalayas? And the answer came, how about channel the masculine and feminine within? How about going back to the roots from where you all started? How about knowing your own masculine and feminine and helping others to know the same? And almost 9 years ago, that interesting journey started for me. And today I can tell you, not only I have come quite a bit ahead in my own expressions of feminine and masculine, but I'm so proud, and I want to acknowledge the students who work with me, that they have come a long way, and they inspire me with their efforts, with their sincerity, with their longing to know more. And that's why I wanted to talk today about the feminine and masculine. It's 2 a.m. right now in LA. And, when you have the inspiration, you go for it. I've always been a night person, and I've been trying very hard to change that. And I want to change it only because there's a very interesting world that starts at 4 a.m. And I've tasted the other side of the world, which kind of, moves and unfolds at 2 a.m. And now I want to experience the 4 a.m. So hopefully that will also happen. And as I talk more about the feminine and masculine, one of the, of course, important thing is that when I was told by my guru that the truth will not show up, the healing will not happen until I embrace the feminine within. But at the same time, something else also happened. I took a pause and I noticed how the feminine has always played such a powerful role in my blooming. In my family, I was raised by such powerful women, my mother, my grandma, and there were so many other powerful feminine energies around. But at most of the other places, when I looked around, the feminine was not empowered. I've seen women being beaten by their sons, by their husbands, by strangers. And somewhere in my psyche, it left a very painful impression. And I also started to understand the difference between an empowered feminine and a suppressed feminine. And the women who were being abused, they were not weak women, they were smart, educated women, and yet they kind of became comfortable with it. And I finished the first season of this show, Big Little Lies. And when I saw Nicole Kidman's character going through that physical abuse, that mental, sexual abuse, and yet she would constantly surrender to him. And every time I saw that, it kind of made me angry, uneasy, because I have seen a lot of women in the last 10 years or even more. And I mentioned the last 10 years because the last 10 years have been me playing the role of spiritual teacher for a lot of these women. And I asked them, why do you go back to this person when you're not being honored there? And they tell me, I don't have any other option. And I tell them, you are made with many options. You are destined to create options for universe. And you're telling me you don't have options? And this conversation needed to happen, the one I'm doing right now in this episode, because one of the reasons I feel feminine is not accepted still in its full glory, because somewhere love is not understood and accepted. And as long as our society will continue to misunderstand love, it will also continue to misunderstand feminine energy. And when I say feminine energy, I'm not talking about men and women. I'm talking about feminine energy and masculine energy. And in this episode, I may interchange the word feminine, masculine, men, women, and all that, but it simply means energy every time I say feminine and masculine. Feminine energy is so closely connected with playfulness, healing, divinity. It's connected with poetry. It's connected with awareness. It's connected with nurturing, compassion. And when all of those things are not encouraged, empowered, understood, then the feminine will also not be understood. I get to travel quite a bit in my work, and wherever I travel, I see that feminine is not honored. Love is not understood anywhere. Love is so misunderstood in every culture I know. People don't understand what love is. Sadly, love has become only about marriage, only about relationships, only about, those two people. And then we bring in religion and law. Love doesn't want religion and law. Love is raw, free, evolved. Please leave love from the law, from the religion. It doesn't need all of that. Love is a state of awareness. But the way we are taught to love is so sad. We are taught to love in a very one-dimensional way. And we are taught that your love has to be addressed to one person. And if you even think about other person, that's a sin, that's wrong, that's terrible. And that creates its own toxic narrative about love in our head. And we start to feel that love probably just means that I belong to one person. That it probably means that one person can do anything with me. Or maybe it means that I should not even laugh or love with any other person. It becomes a toxic monogamy. And that's the worst thing that can happen to love. And when I mention this, I get messages from people. Are you encouraging polyamory? Are you telling that we should have multiple partners? And I have very simple question to all of those people who send me these questions, that why do you think love only means sex and romance? Because if that's your definition of love, only then probably you are having these questions that I'm encouraging polyamory. The truth is, I'm neither encouraging polyamory nor encouraging monogamy. What I'm encouraging is that we all understand love, because we have kind of become so conditioned and we overthink love, and we constantly focus on whom to love. We constantly focus on where I'm going to squeeze my next amount of love. We are constantly hunting for love. It doesn't matter whom you love. What matters, are you loving? What matters is, are you loving as a state of awareness? Are you living this love? Because if love is not your state of awareness, then you will constantly move around that one dimension of love. And if I bring in Buddhist or Hindu tradition, then I can happily say that yes, we'll keep coming back to experience this one dimension of love until we truly liberate ourselves from this vicious cycle. And the reason I'm talking about love is because if we don't understand love, we will not understand what feminine is, will not understand what masculine is. I write a lot about feminine. I write a lot about the divinity in the feminine, and that does not mean I'm ignoring masculine. The reason I keep talking about feminine is because the feminine energy is the root of our universe. It's the root of our earth. We say Mother Earth. I'm sure there's a group of people who are probably calling it, Father Earth or some sort of male title. But the truth is, Mama Earth is feminine. She's nurturing, she's healing, she goes through so many storms and still she comes out so powerful. And her liberation is his liberation. This is the fundamental truth. And this is why I keep talking about feminine. Because until women are not liberated, man will never be liberated. Man comes from the woman. The masculine will be healed when the feminine will be healed. And when I meet the men who have very strong toxic masculine energy, they have been through a lot of pain, a lot of abuse. And that pain doesn't know where to go. So it ends up suppressing the feminine. And that cycle never ends. So I tell this to every woman, that don't hate the toxic men in your life. And I say this to men also, don't hate your toxic masculinity, because it's telling you something deeper. It's telling you that you are longing for softness, you're longing for tenderness, compassion, and love. So rather than suppressing or hating it, why don't you go deeper into it? And I want to share a bit about how through meditation you can go through it. And feminine and masculine go through this healing journey in their own unique way. So if you feel you have more feminine energy, your way of meditation has to be done through surrendering, through love, through simply being playful, through simply being playful like a river. River is very strong. It could give life to the plants, the flowers on the way, but if needed, it can also break the mountains. I remember there was a student of mine, and I told her that you need the feminine mantra. It's going to bring you more divine feminine energy, and that's the mantra you need to do. And she said, oh, I have enough feminine energy. What I need is masculine energy. I want to be strong. I want to be more fierce. And I said, who told you feminine is not strong? And she said, feminine is weak, right? I said, no. So that was a different conversation I had. And I ended up talking with her how feminine is the root of strength. And feminine gives strength to the masculine in a very powerful way. So if you feel you have feminine energy, or if you want to cultivate more feminine energy, then it has to happen through love, surrendering. And the point of meditation, the chakra will be around the navel center. And you could meditate slightly above or slightly below the navel, that's okay. And you could go through inhaling, holding of the breath, and exhaling. I have a couple of meditations in this podcast. You could simply use those, or if you happen to be in one of my talks or retreats, I go into a lot of details about these meditations. But the point of focus for the feminine is around the navel. A lot of people think it's the heart, but it has to be around the navel. The navel center is considered the center of your conscious energy. And when navel becomes the center of your conscious energy, you cultivate fearlessness, courage, creativity, sensuality, divinity, intuition, and so many powerful things. You actually start to open a whole new world of creative force in you. And you automatically start to have a lot of strength over your sexual energy. Because a strong masculine energy will feel sexual or sensual only around their genitals. But a feminine energy is sensual all over the body. And this is why a woman can feel sensual simply through her eyes, or her hair, or her fingers, or her smile, or her lips. She's sensual all over. But a masculine energy is sensual only at one place. And that's not good. Masculine also need to spread their sensuality beyond the genitals, because then you start to heal that sexual energy. Then you don't need to use sexual energy as just a sneeze. Then you start to release all the suppression about sex. So if you are a feminine, you got to start to meditate around the navel center and simply feel what you need to feel in that way. Simply allow yourself to feel the emotions, express the rage, the anger, anything that's coming up, express it. The mindful breathing is going to be your best friend, because it's going to help you to understand your anxiety, your challenges more and more. And I'm going to mention this very interesting mantra, and then I'll explain what it means. Yatra narestu pujante, ramante tatra devata. Yatra tastu na pujante, sarvasta trafala kriya. It means where the feminine is honored, that's where divinity blooms. That's where abundance comes. That's where healing comes. And where the feminine is dishonored or not acknowledged, all actions are useless. Doesn't matter how noble they look, they will always remain unfruitful. And this is one of the profound mantras from Eastern traditions. And it brings a lot of importance on the feminine. Now, the reason I mentioned it is because I feel a lot of feminine are not in love with their feminine energy. They want to be like masculine. I was in Wall Street for a short amount of time, and currently major clientele I have comes from Wall Street world, from corporate world. And I come across a lot of feminine, a lot of women who are trying very hard to be even more masculine. And then they feel anxious. They feel confused. They feel they have lost touch with their emotions. And of course, they have. And I'm not telling you should not be doing jobs. You should not be CEOs. You should be all of those great things. But at the same time, know your roots. Because it's going to be the biggest tragedy of the world when there's going to be no feminine. Because then this entire world is going to be only about aggression, warriorship, competition, winning. And there's need for that as well. I mean, all the feminine temples, the Tantra temples I visit, they were all built by men. So if there was no masculine energy, there won't be those temples. So that's needed. But if the feminine loses the honor, the self-respect, the self-acceptance, that's going to be a sad thing. That's going to be tragic. So please honor your feminine, which means honor your emotions, your love. Do not seek that validation from the outside. If you are in a relationship where you are not honored, acknowledged, where your feminine is only about giving sexual pleasure to the man, that's not how the divine feminine is going to bloom. And I feel this is something where both men and women got to join together and got to put energy into bringing the balance of feminine and masculine. This is one of the reasons I fell in love with Tantra, because all the spiritual schools and sciences and belief systems I came across, their divinity was all about masculine. They all had male gods, male perspectives. And I knew I was missing something. I knew I needed to expand my horizons. I need to dive deeper. And Tantra showed me that way. In fact, the interesting thing about Tantra is all the prime deities, the 10 deities which are called Das Mahavidya, or the 10 prime goddesses, they all are feminine. Now the fun part, the founder of Tantra, the guru of Tantra is Shiva, who's a masculine, who's male. But when you Google Shiva, there are many images and portraits of Shiva where he's half masculine and half feminine. And this is why I feel Tantra is more relevant today than ever before. Because we are losing touch with that balance of masculine and feminine within. And when I say masculine, what do I mean by masculine? I mean the leadership, the warrior energy. I mean the aggression, the willpower, and all that strength we need. So we do need the balance of both. If there's only one, it's going to be a problem. We do need both. And what's the path to bring the sacred masculine out? It's the path of willpower, courage, setting intention. So if you are masculine, if you work with a certain masculine, tell them to work through their willpower. Tell them to work through their courage within. Because that's how both masculine and feminine will start to flow. When I started my meditations, I was not even 10. And I used to meditate on Hanuman. Hanuman, who's known as the monkey god from the Hindu traditions. He's the symbol of strong masculine energy. In fact, if you travel in India and you stop by at the gyms, at least 80% of the gyms will have the huge poster of Hanuman. He's the symbol of that masculine strength. And I became so obsessive with Hanuman because as a growing up male, you feel you need more strength, because people expect strength out of you. People expect you to be macho and strong. And I used to do all I can to be that strong guy. And I became obsessed with Hanuman's energy, but his energy is also such a childlike, playful, little boy kind of energy, but very, very intense and strong also. And I remember my father's cousin, he saw me doing the mantra of Hanuman, which is the mantra called Hanuman Chalisa. It's a very long mantra. He saw me doing that mantra for hours and he said, "Why do you do it? This is not for you. It's very strong and you are like not even a teenager." And he would constantly stop me to do it. And then I complained to my father that your cousin is bullying me, I think, every day. He doesn't want me to do this mantra. And my father said, "No, you can continue to do it." And then he stopped me one day. He said, "Now it's time to move from the masculine Hanuman to the feminine goddess Kali." And now it's been more than 15 years, wow, that I've been diving deeper into the divine feminine. In fact, everyone I know who meditates on goddess Kali, majority of them are men. And I'm talking about the spiritual circle from India. All the gurus and the masters I know, they all are Devi devotees. Devi means divine feminine, by the way, in Sanskrit. And a lot of people ask me that if you feel the feminine is so strong intuitively, spiritually, why there are not enough feminine gurus out there? Why all the gurus that we know about, they're all masculine or male? See, the truth is, when a male becomes enlightened, or when they start to taste the spiritual awakening, they want to be out. They want to be the leader. They want to lead people. They want to talk about it. They want to, shout out loud on like speakers that this is what I've tasted and now I'm going to give you that. It's the nature of masculine. But when a feminine tastes that awakening, she doesn't go out. She goes within. She wants to just nurture that like a womb. It's her nature. It's the feminine. She doesn't want to go out. She doesn't want to bother with enlightening other people because she just wants to continue being in love with it. And this is why I feel the path of feminine is based around love. And if you're seeking love in the wrong places, you're not going to have that divinity, that divine feminine bloom. So think about it. You owe this to yourself. It's your sacred responsibility to give way to the divine feminine within. And if you feel interested about this topic, do send me questions on my website or share this podcast on the Insta stories or write a quick review. That will be really appreciated. And those who want to dive deeper into this path, join me on my retreat in the Himalayas in September, or come to one of my workshops, or let's keep listening to the podcast. Thank you as always. Talk to you soon. I hope this podcast may travel through the untapped universe of your darkness, light, courage, passion, and so much more. Please do subscribe and be ready to break your norms. I am so excited and very honored to be part of your sacred journey through this podcast.